Hello everybody and welcome back to the Hilltop Pillbox here in Abbotsford, British Columbia, Canada. And what you're looking at right now is the die that ended it all today. Yes, today we had the roll at the end of turn 17, the end of 1944, and we ended up with a 3. We get a 1, a 2, or a 3 to end the game, and that we got. So the game is over.
Game over, man. It's game over.
And the winner is, drum roll please, the Axis. Yes. And Germany did all the heavy lifting early. Italy helped out as best as she could without even going to war. But Japan kind of got trounced a bit by the Americans. I haven't updated my map from the American turn or the Italian turn, truth be told. But I know the Americans took Java, British took Sumatra, and there you have it. I know the French came over here. I took care of all that stuff. But when we found out that I'd be rolling the die, well, I knew I'd be rolling the die. I figured, well, we'll just roll it. If the game goes on, I'll make all the changes. So it has been an odd game. It's been a fantastic game, to say the least. I'm going to give you my thoughts on it right now.
Nobody cares what you think.
And my thoughts are simply this. This is a fantastic game. And I look back at the beginning, and I remember the great rolls I got. That was the, I don't know if it's the same die, but it was a red die. Gave me great rolls at the beginning. And I was able to expand with CCP. But the biggest story of the game, in my mind, was the alliance between the Comintern and the Axis.
Are you people insane? What are you talking about?
Now, a lot of people were kind of poo-pooing it. They're saying, oh, come on, it's not historically accurate or whatever. Thing is, if we did this historically accurately, then the Allies win, right? Because that's what happened historically. The Allies win. And that's the beautiful thing about this game, is that you can make any sort of alliances you want. You can keep them as long as you want. You can break them whenever you want. You can backstab whenever you want, right? You can do what you want. And that's the beautiful thing about it. There are no set teams except for the ones inside themselves. So, you know, America and Britain and France and Canada and Anzac and FEC can't declare war on each other. Just like the Comintern, you know, the Soviet Union and Communist China can't declare war on each other, and the KMT in America can't declare war on each other. But apart from those tight-knit groups, hey, anything goes, right? So some key things that happened in the game that allowed it to be a close race right till the very end here were, one, the Spanish Civil War. This right here is very important to me to win that. And although I still had other warm water ports over here that I still owned, then I didn't really need it. But these warm water ports here are a victory point. The two territories here, Madrid and Leon Castile, are both worth a point, so they allow me to have you know, just a couple of victory points over there. Now, I didn't need them because the Soviet Union had a lot of success down here and also up here in Scandinavia, with Norway and Finland falling to the Russian bear. Over here, we were able to keep the Japanese and the Americans out of this. This is actually a very vulnerable area for the Comintern. And had I not had this ironclad agreement, I think this could have gotten messy. This could have been difficult to hold. And even when the Americans came over and took Korea here, I decided to actually move a major factory to deal with that problem. I don't know if that kept Fortress Jinx from attacking, or I thought I'd give him a juicy target and then let him decide what to do with it. And he decided to come down here and beat up the Japanese and take points off of them. Had he taken one more point from the Japanese, then it would have been a tie and we would have carried on. Now, something interesting happened here, right? So the Axis, they end up with 13 victory points. They have 14, but they lose one because the Americans own part of the Japanese homeland, Hokkaido. So you lose 1 point for that. The Russians lost a bunch, and that's the next big thing I'm going to talk about. So the Americans took one up there that's worth 1, and then the Germans took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more territories that are each worth 1. Okay? So because they did that, I go down 6 points, and I had 18 points. So I actually had more victory points than the Axis did. I had 18 to their 14. Unfortunately, I lose 6, and he lost 1. So then he beats me by 1. So now I see that's where the Soviet Union is very vulnerable. And I probably would have spent a lot less time and effort down here. All right, beating up the Brits. But again, we know Fortress Jinx is an amazing player, and he had so much stuff down here. He could have wrought, so he probably would have come right up here. He would have figured out some way and be in Stalingrad by now if I hadn't dealt with this nonsense down here. Probably would have taken out the CCP forces here in any regard, right? And then, yeah, that would have just been a bloody mess. So I thought I gotta take care of that. Okay. Another thing that went wrong is not on the map, but it was in the timing, in which case I did not declare war fast enough on Germany. And like I said on my last video, I was sitting there thinking about it before I started watching the movie with my wife, and I just, I'll just do it tomorrow, and then I forgot, and then I wake up to the text. I'm like, oh crap. But I really didn't think it was that big a deal, but now we can see it was, because had I been able to counterattack, there were a number of these here that I could have taken back. I could have taken these back, and I would have, ostensibly, I would have won the game. Now, Fortress Jinx might have behaved a bit differently up here. All right, he might have brought some more stuff. He might have tried to do different things. Panzer King might have brought more stuff into cars to head into here next turn, right? Like, there's a lot of different things that could have happened. So I'm not going to have a kerfuffle over that. But that tells me right there that if you play the common turn in this game, if you don't see a reason not to declare war, declare war.
What are you waiting for? Do it!
And you know what General Hand Grenade told me early on? Declare war on Germany. Just get it over with. And I thought, but you know, I like this thing we're doing here. We got the Lend-lease thing going on. We got the Ribbentrop, you know, and all this. And he was right, dadgummit, right? Because then all these things here, I could only take 1 back, thanks to the German sneak attack. Okay. Now up here, you see the American roundel, and it's empty now. And all the Americans evacuated up here to Scotland. And now they got quite a sizable transport fleet over there, ready to move things where they need to. Now, there is a rule. It's called a voluntary... Oh, I forget what it's called now. But basically, you can withdraw out of territory and give it back to the owner. And so Fortress Jinx tried to do that with the Kola up here in Murmansk. He tried to do that, give that back to me, because then of course I'd be tied, and then the game wouldn't have a chance to finish. I still had to roll the die, but it wouldn't even have a chance, because if you have 2 people tied for first, you just keep playing until there's a clear leader, and then you roll a die. And so 1 more turn in the books might have given him the chance to get into 2nd place or possibly 1st. All right, we know how great he is at this game. And so, unfortunately, the rules state that the owner, the original owner of the territory, the first thing that has to happen to get that ball rolling, he has to request that the territory be given back to him. That's the very first line in that optional rule. Okay, and he thought that he could just give it back and sacrifice it, but no, it has to be asked for. Now, there's obviously good reasons for that, of course, right? Because he could do that, right? He could do that, and then, you know, I could say to Panzer King, well, why don't you give me this back, or why don't you back out of this, or why don't, you know, maybe I'll back out of this and give you a point, or whatever. And it never ends, right? And everybody's retreating like crazy, just trying to keep the game going. So the rule itself, it's quite clear in the rule book that the person has to request it. Okay. Now, some other takeaways from the game is that technology is quite important. The Soviets actually do have a a victory point tied to it, but it is quite important. The long-range aircraft is huge. I never did anything with my advanced mechanized or my heavy armor. I never actually even built a heavy armor. It didn't make a lot of sense for me, but it's one of the techs I was supposed to get. But the advanced artillery is huge for the Soviet Union. That lets you build these Katyushas. I don't know if you remember me struggling to get that tech. It took me about, at least 4 rolls to finally get that the completed advanced artillery. Like I'd build my Katyushas and have to put them back because I wouldn't get it. But once you get that attrition attack is very handy. Very handy, the attrition attack where you can just fire into an adjacent zone. Instead of moving in and putting your stuff close to danger, I could just sit here and kill stuff, which I did last turn. Now, there was only one militia in here, it's no big deal. But with these guys, I could fire and I'm out of harm's way. All right. Artillery is very, very key in this game as well. Not just giving your infantry a +1, but also the first strike, right? So that's a huge thing. Another thing that's huge in this game is the Lend-lease. So Lend-lease is it's an amazing concept. It's a bit of a slippery fish. I could see if you're the Allies, right? The things that you can do. So let's look at what Fortress Jinx did. He was Lend-leasing things like fighters, right? These are fighters. I don't have the sculpts, but jet fighters, right? So we've got 3 French jet fighters in the Med alone. Right? French. What's going on? That's a great Lend-lease from America, because America, as anybody else does, gets 1 turn each turn. That's it. You got 1 turn. But if he spreads his money around and he's buying jet fighters for the British, he's buying jet fighters for the French, he gave a jet fighter over here to Calcutta last round. I mean, good grief, he's spreading all this Lend-lease everywhere, right? And in so doing, he's essentially extending America's ability to punch. Okay? And that's just a brilliant way to play, because everywhere I turn, I got these jet fighters flying around, or all of a sudden, the French get a transport. Now, the transport in this game, came from Canada.
I only know like 3 cities in Canada, so I'm gonna just say them. Montreal. What's the other one?
Canada did the Lend-lease, and the 2 guys were here, and I think the other 2 guys didn't get placed. I think that's what happened. But anyway, so now you got the French doing a landing, and the French actually landed in Thessaly and took it, and that took the Germans down 1 victory point. All right. There's more French over here, just gearing up to go someplace else. I have thought that he was going to come here to southern Iran, but I think that was a little too much going with just infantry. But I thought, yeah, jets are going to come over, but they ended up helping out in Thessaly. Incredibly flexible Lend-lease system in this game. And unless you can somehow get your boats to interdict the Lend-lease path, it's just free sailing. Which brings me to one of my final points, which is the navies. The navies in this game are monumentally important. To the Allies. Little less to the Axis, and not really much at all to the Comintern in a typical game. Okay, the Comintern, whatever. It's a land war for the Comintern, right? That's what it is. It's a land war over here. It's a land war over here. So I did spend a bit of money on transports and decided to have some fun with them. But for the most part, I didn't spend a lot on ships, because Germany wants to, kaboom. Britain wants to, kaboom. There's nothing I can really do, and I'm not going to spend a lot of money on ships when I should be spending it on ground units. And so, if the Allies can keep their navy intact, especially in the Pacific, if you're trying to prosecute a war against the Japanese, it's clear sailing. So right now, the Americans, he didn't even build any ships last turn, to my knowledge. Maybe he did finish those 3 cruisers. I think they might have gone on the Atlantic side, but he's building aircraft. right? He's just going to start dropping guys off and everything. And he still has this very respectable fleet, right? He's got 2 fleet carriers. He's got 4 battleships. He's got a whole whack of light cruisers, a couple of heavy cruisers, and some transports. Very difficult to get at them, right? So just excellent naval play by Jinx. And I know that Panzer King and I were really freaking out here. We're like, what is happening here? Like, we used to own a lot of this stuff. Now it's just disappearing. It's just gone. So those are my big takeaways from this game. The thing I love about this game, though, honestly, it's the politics. It's the fact that you can make deals, you can trade money, you can trade for units, make any kind of deals that you want in order to advance your goals, right? So very first couple of turns, I'm helping out the Abyssinians here because Fortress Jinx said we've got to stop the Italians from taking that. I'm like, okay. So we tried to help out the Ethiopians, but then Panzer King came to me and said, look, you give me this and I'll stop sending anything over here. And I went, that's a trade I'm willing to make. You can have Abyssinia if I have a better shot at taking Spain. And so that's what we did, right? And he stopped sending things to Spain, and I kept sending things to Spain. Knowing that we had this ironclad agreement, I could do that. So I'm sending aircraft down there, and they are doing the job. And he's not sending in any reinforcements. And the more territories I took, the easier it was to get free infantry and militia. And soon, the Republicans won the war. I think it was turn 6 or 7. They won the war. Maybe even earlier than that. So, the little deals that you make, the little back chamber deals, right, that you make, they're so important in this game and so key. The last thing I'm going to mention, and then we're going to tie this off, and I got to clean this whole thing up and get ready to do some other stuff, do some game development for HBG, is Norway. Let me talk about Norway for a second. So I declared war on Norway, long time ago. Turn 7, turn 8. And I thought that would make Sweden go like pro-Axis. I thought, it's no big deal. It goes pro-Axis. But it doesn't. It actually makes them go full German. And so I handed over a factory, an airfield, and a few troops to Germany. And obviously, had I known that, I wouldn't have done it. Right? But in hindsight, it actually gave me some points. Right? First of all, it gave me some economy. It was $2 worth there. And allowed me to go into Finland knowing that I've got a little bit of a buffer with some other things, and I brought stuff from Norway into Finland for the attack. But upon reflection, I probably wouldn't have done it, honestly, right? Because who's going to want to give Germany a factory on your northern flank? Like, why would I do that, right? But I did it, and I lived with it. I'm like, oh well, live and learn. But it turned out okay. Turned out okay, again, because the Germans and I got along so famously. All right. Well, thanks so much for watching, folks. This has been a long time in the making. We started this just after Christmas. Okay, so the end of December to January, February, March, and into April here, we're looking at about 13, 14 weeks, like 3 months and change. It's a lot of time. It's 17 turns. For me, that's 17 videos. For the other two guys, that's 34 videos for Fortress Jinx and 51 videos for Panzer King. 51 videos. Now, granted, Italy's are typically 5 minutes long, so yeah. But Japan and Germany typically had very long, complex turns. So my hat is off to those two guys. I don't know if I would have had the mental fortitude to slug through at the speed that they did. They did very well. Some holes in my learning is naval battles. That's something I'm going to have to continue to read up on and study, because I didn't have to do them this round. I was just kind of on the receiving end of a few butt kickings, and then it was over. So I'm going to have to look at that. Now again, version 4 is going to be coming out here fairly shortly. Well, I shouldn't say fairly shortly, but it will be coming out. And I know that this game that we've had here, there's been a few things that the clarity has come to light that we need to add to some of the rules. And some of the rules are probably going to get axed, and others will be added to just make the gameplay that much better. And I know V3 is far and above what it had at the beginning. Before that, V1, V2. And that's what we do with these games. So we play them, we put them out for everybody to see, and we take our lumps as we go along learning. All right, so thanks again to all of you who have been putting out the different information and the challenges on some of our moves and suggestions on things that we should do, and letting us know that, oops, you screwed that up, you know. We do appreciate it. Absolutely appreciate it. And we did become much more knowledgeable. This map doesn't look like a great big question mark to me anymore. I get it. I get it. And although I still have things to learn, really enjoyed this game. There's two things I wanted to say in this video. First thing, to Fortress Jinx, you have taught me so much about what is possible in this game. Your naval movements and your Lend-lease are a sight to behold, and they scared the crap out of me. So, thank you so much for doing that. Thank you for being a top-notch player as far as your imagination and your skills at defending areas that are under a lot of duress throughout the whole game, and knowing that you had to hang on to certain places. So Hong Kong and Calcutta were never under a real threat. And when you saw us coming for Eastern Egypt, well, you bulked that up to save that. So good for you. Gibraltar was never going to fall, and you kept America safe. And so thank you very much, Fortress Jinx. I think there's no argument that you are the best player of the three of us. I don't even think that's up for discussion. I know Panzer King would second that. Absolutely, and that's why we had to work together. I kind of liken it to, if those of you who are kind of wondering what's going on here, I kind of liken it to two little kids, like grade 1 kids, trying to play, say, soccer against a grade 8 kid, right? And you spot the little kid's 10 goals. And then it's a race against the clock. And that grade 8 kid is going to score goals and score goals and score goals and score goals. And the little kids are barely going to touch the ball. But when they do, they feel a great sense of accomplishment. And then if they ever pull off the win, they feel amazing. Now, I didn't win this. But I'm sure Panzer King has a fairly big sense of elation and relief in the victory. So I think that's kind of what happened here. You have Panzer King and I are veritable newcomers to the game, whereas Fortress Jinx, you've played about 24 of these games. And so it was really no contest when it came to what should we do. As the Axis and the Comintern, we had to work together, right? So basically, during that soccer game, one of us is hanging onto one of your legs, the other one's hanging onto the other, and we're just trying to slow you down. And that's basically what happened. So congrats and a tip of the hat to you, sir, for making us be very stalwart in our treaty. It's because we also showed then what is possible if the Axis and Comintern do work together. Right, so there you go. We were thankful for the opportunity. And to Panzer King, wow, what can I say? What an ally you were until the last round. Grrr. I would have done the same thing. But Panzer King, I tell you, your attitude and your moxie and your ability to see all the opportunities just boggled me as you were going after London and trying to fortify France and keep everything going well, and coming down here and taking all of this and coming into the Middle East. Wow. That was just some brilliant play by you, but also just your dedication to the plan, right? We had a plan and you just were absolutely dedicated to it.
Remember, stick to the plan.
Yes, the plan, the plan! What plan?
Even though for most of the game I was very weak here, you didn't take huge advantage of that. You kept your word, so I appreciate that very much. Showing great character, keeping your word, even with our red commie. So appreciate it. But two guys, had a great time playing with both of you, and thank you for teaching me so much about this game. And I really appreciate it. We have other conversations for those of you just watching here. We have many other conversations. We have some on politics and economics and societal screw-ups and all that kind of stuff. And we think alike on a lot of these things. So it's a lot of fun. We have a good chuckle, and and we learn about things from different perspectives. It is a good time. Well, for real now, folks. Thank your loved ones for playing, and may those dice still be with you.